Hi everyone! Today's video is going to wake something deep inside you, something you've ignored for years but can't run from anymore. Have you ever sat alone late at night, staring at the ceiling and whispering to yourself, "Why does success choose some people so easily and skip me?" The question hits hard because it's honest. It comes from the deep part of you that knows you're capable of more but hasn't unlocked it yet. But here's the part you rarely hear. Success never chooses anyone randomly. It simply responds to the person who finally stands up and says, "Why not me? Why not today? Why not my life?" This single switch, a shift in identity, a new version of yourself, is the difference between a life you tolerate and a life you dream of. Today's story, Why Not You 2.0, is not just a motivational message. It's a transformation journey designed for you. A graded reader built to guide you step by step through mindset change, emotional resistance, hidden strength, and identity evolution. This is not about hype. This is about rewiring the mind, rekindling ambition, and rebuilding the version of you that life once buried under fear, failure, and forgetfulness. If you're reading this, it means your old self is fading, and the upgraded version, you 2.0, is ready to take over. And the transition starts right here. Chapter 1. The silent question nobody answers. People rarely admit it, but almost everyone walks through life carrying a quiet question buried somewhere deep inside. Is greatness really meant for me? It's not something you say out loud, because the moment you speak it, you feel vulnerable, almost exposed. But the question exists, whispering beneath the surface during the moments when you compare yourself to the world around you. You look at friends who seem to catch opportunities effortlessly, coworkers who move forward while you feel stuck in the same place, and strangers online who build impressive lives as if the universe is secretly favoring them. And as you watch all of this unfold, you begin to wonder whether you somehow missed a hidden lesson, a secret class, a mysterious doorway that everyone else walked through except you. Maybe you think you weren't born into the right environment. Maybe your family struggled. Maybe you faced responsibilities earlier than others. Or maybe you never received the guidance you needed. Or perhaps your life has been shaped by failures, moments that hurt so deeply that your mind now treats every new step like a potential threat. Over time, your brain starts assuming that the patterns of your past will repeat, and that assumption slowly becomes your identity. You begin to accept smallness because it feels safe. But here's the truth hidden beneath all your insecurities. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage your success. It is trying to protect you from the unknown. Your mind has been trained to choose safety over growth, comfort over challenge, familiarity over transformation. Safe often means staying exactly where you are, unchanged, unchallenged, and unnoticed. But safety is not the path to the life you dream about. Growth exists outside the warm comfort of routine. Growth is uncomfortable, awkward, and unfamiliar. And that discomfort is the very evidence that you're stepping into a new version of yourself. Most people never ask the question, "Why not me?" because they're terrified of what the answer might be. They fear hearing the words, "Because you don't deserve it," or "Because you're not enough." But the real answer is far more empowering than anything you imagine. Because you haven't claimed it yet. You haven't stepped into the identity required for the dreams you carry. You haven't allowed yourself to believe that the life you admire in others could also belong to you. greatness is not reserved for the chosen few. It is reserved for the ones who choose themselves. And the moment you whisper, "Why not me?" with sincerity and courage, the transformation of you 2.0 begins. Chapter 2. The Story of Arin, a Mirror for You 2.0. To understand what real transformation looks like, imagine stepping into the life of Arin, a young adult who felt trapped in the slow, suffocating cycle of mediocrity. Arin was not lazy. In fact, he worked harder than most people around him. But no matter how much effort he put in, it never seemed to push his life forward. He'd watch coworkers get promoted while he remained in the same position year after year. He'd scroll through social media and see old classmates launching businesses, learning new skills, traveling across countries, and building the kind of confidence he only dreamed of. Every night became the same routine. Lying in bed, staring at the screen, comparing himself to thousands of strangers, feeling like he was losing a race he never remembered joining. Time passed, but nothing changed. Instead of hope, he felt heaviness, like invisible chains holding him down. Then came the turning point he never expected. One day, after an exhausting week filled with disappointments, Arin took a longer route home just to clear his mind. As he walked, he noticed a simple streetlight pole with an old poster clinging to it. The poster wasn't shiny or new. It was faded, wrinkled, and slightly torn by wind and rain. But the message printed on it felt like a punch straight to his chest. "Why not you?" The words were so bold, so direct, so piercing that he stopped walking altogether. For a moment, the noise of the city faded. It felt like those words were meant for him, like the universe had finally asked the question he had been avoiding. Something inside Arin shifted. His problems didn't magically disappear, and the world around him didn't suddenly transform. But he changed. That tiny spark of possibility, the simple idea that maybe he was allowed to dream bigger, awakened a part of him he had buried long ago. That night, instead of picking up his phone and scrolling for hours, he sat at his desk, opened an old notebook, and wrote 4 life-altering words. Why not me too? It wasn't confidence. It wasn't certainty. It was the first step, the beginning of Arin 2.0. And whether you realize it or not, this same beginning is waiting for you right now. Chapter 3. The Weight of Your Old Self. Before anyone upgrades their identity, they must confront the weight of who they used to be. The old version of you is not your enemy. It's a survivor. It protected you through childhood, guided you through painful moments, and helped you navigate situations where you didn't know what to do. The old you was cautious because caution kept you safe. It avoided risks because risks once hurt you. It stayed quiet because speaking up once brought embarrassment. But while this old version of you was built to protect you, it is also the reason you feel stuck today. The same shield that once helped you survive now blocks you from growing. Imagine walking through life with a heavy backpack strapped tightly to your shoulders. Inside that backpack are memories you never let go of, failures you still replay in your mind, regrets that sting even years later, fears that whisper warnings into your ear, harsh criticisms that people threw at you, and disappointments that shaped your beliefs without your permission. Every step becomes harder because each memory has a voice. One memory says, "You tried once and failed." Another says, "You're not as good as others." Another insists, "You don't deserve big things." And then there's the harshest voice of all, the one that says, "People like you don't make it far." But here is the truth you need to understand. These voices are not reality. They are echoes, old recordings, bruises from the past pretending to be your identity. But just because a belief has lived inside you for years doesn't make it true. Your mind simply repeated it long enough that you started believing it was who you were. Growth doesn't begin by fighting your old self. Growth begins by acknowledging it, thanking it, then gently releasing it. To become you 2.0, you don't have to kill the old version. You simply have to take away its steering wheel and say, "It's time to rest. I'm taking over now." This is the emotional turning point of your journey. The moment you loosen the grip of your past, you create space for a new identity, one that isn't weighed down by fear, but lifted by possibility. Chapter 4. The Identity Shift. Who you believe you are. Most people think success begins with action, working harder, pushing more, forcing themselves into new habits. But true transformation doesn't start with what you do. It starts with what you believe about yourself. Your identity is the invisible script that controls your thoughts, actions, and decisions. If you believe you're unlucky, you stop trying. If you believe you're average, you never push beyond the minimum. If you believe you're incapable, you avoid opportunities that could transform your life. The problem is not your potential. It's the identity you built around your fears. Identity acts like a thermostat. No matter how much progress you make, if your internal identity is set to average or not enough, you will eventually return to that level. Hard work can push you temporarily, but identity pulls you permanently. That's why some people start something exciting and quit halfway. They were trying to act like a different person without becoming that person internally. Success is not just a goal. It is a reflection of identity. Confidence comes from identity. Consistency flows from identity. The person who believes they belong in the room walks differently, speaks differently, takes decisions differently. They don't wait for permission. Their identity guides their behavior automatically. You 2.0 is not about doing more. It's about becoming someone new. Someone whose actions match their ambitions. Someone whose habits reflect their goals. Someone who doesn't chase opportunities but attracts them through the energy they carry. When you upgrade your identity, success naturally aligns itself with you because your behavior, decisions, and mindset start flowing in the same direction. The question, "Why not you?" is not a motivational slogan. It is an invitation to rewrite the silent beliefs that shaped your life. You can continue saying, "I'm someone who hopes life gets better," hoping that someday things magically change. Or you can say, "I am the person who makes life better," and claim responsibility for every step you take next. This is the real beginning. The moment you shift from wishing to becoming, from hoping to deciding, from doubting to declaring. This small but powerful shift is where the identity of you 2.0 is born. Chapter 5. Breaking the Invisible Walls. Every human being carries invisible walls, barriers so subtle you might not even realize they exist, yet so powerful that they quietly dictate the trajectory of your life. These walls are mental constructs built over years of conditioning. They are shaped by the rules and expectations imposed by parents, teachers, peers, and society at large. They are reinforced by personal failures, disappointments, and the voices of those who doubted you along the way. You can't do that. That's unrealistic. People like us don't achieve things like that. These are not just words. They are bricks in the walls that have kept your ambitions contained. Over time, the walls become invisible yet impenetrable. They convince you that certain opportunities are not for you, that certain dreams are too big, and that certain levels of success are unreachable. Most people live their entire lives confined by these walls, accepting them as the natural limits of what is possible. But here's the hidden truth. These walls were built by people who didn't know your potential. They were created by minds that were limited by their own fears, doubts, and conditioned thinking. They weren't built to define you. They were built to define themselves. And yet, for most of us, these walls become unquestionable truths, silently controlling our decisions, our ambitions, and our sense of self-worth. The moment you begin to challenge them, the walls begin to tremble. Every time you ask, "Why not me?" you are, in effect, hammering at those invisible barriers. Each strike is a question, a challenge, a refusal to accept a life that doesn't feel like yours. With every strike, cracks appear. Those cracks are small at first, almost imperceptible, but they expand, allowing sunlight to filter through. The sunlight of possibility, of growth, and of freedom. Most people never test their limits. They live within safe zones because conformity feels easier than conflict, and familiarity feels less painful than failure. But you 2.0 refuses to shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. You start asking the questions that others avoid. You challenge assumptions that everyone else takes for granted. You push past invisible barriers that were never meant to define you. This is not an easy path. It's uncomfortable, even terrifying at times. Yet the reward is immeasurable. The liberation of your mind, the expansion of your ambitions, and the discovery of potential that you once thought impossible. Breaking these walls is not a one-time act. It's a continuous process. Every challenge, every risk, every uncomfortable step is a hammer strike against your limitations. And as the walls crumble, you realize the world beyond is vast, open, and waiting for someone brave enough to step through. Chapter 6. The fears that protect you and trap you. Fear is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. It is often portrayed as the enemy, something to be conquered or eliminated. But in truth, fear is not your adversary. It is your guardian. Its role is to protect you from danger, to alert you when there is a threat, and to keep you safe from harm. However, fear cannot distinguish between real danger and the risk required for growth. It doesn't understand that stepping into the unknown, embracing challenge, or taking action toward your dreams is not a threat. It is transformation. That is why fear surfaces in situations where it seems irrational. Before giving a speech, starting a business, leaving a job, learning a new skill, or taking a chance that could redefine your life. Fear is not a signal to stop. It is a sign that you are on the edge of growth. The upgraded version of yourself, you 2.0, does not eliminate fear. It learns to walk alongside it. Instead of listening to the voice that says, "I'm scared, I must stop," you 2.0 says, "I'm scared, but this fear is a marker that I'm moving beyond my limits." Every person you admire, every individual whose life seems extraordinary, has faced the same fear. The difference is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Fear is inevitable, but stagnation is optional. When you understand this, fear transforms from a roadblock into a compass, guiding you toward areas of greatest growth and opportunity. Fear also exposes your vulnerabilities. It reveals what you value, what matters to you, and where your comfort zones have defined your life. Instead of resisting fear, you 2.0 observes it, understands it, and uses it as fuel. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move forward in spite of it. Each time you confront fear, you build resilience. Each time you act in the presence of fear, you expand the boundaries of your life. Fear becomes a teacher rather than a prison. It is the price of transformation, a reminder that anything worthwhile is rarely easy or safe. Ultimately, the presence of fear is proof that you are growing, evolving, and stepping into a new version of yourself. You 2.0 does not wait for fear to vanish. It acts anyway. And in doing so, fear loses its power over you. It becomes a signal that you are heading in the right direction, that you are stepping into your potential, and that the life you desire is within reach. If only you choose to move forward despite the tremors of doubt and uncertainty. Chapter 7. The Power of Small, Consistent Action. One of the biggest misconceptions about transformation is that it requires grand gestures or dramatic overnight changes. Most people wait for a surge of motivation to hit, thinking that this spark will carry them toward their dreams. The truth is, motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind, unpredictable and unreliable. One day you feel unstoppable, and the next, life's challenges crush your enthusiasm. If you rely solely on motivation, your progress will be inconsistent and fragile, vulnerable to setbacks, fatigue, and distractions. This is where the upgraded version of yourself, you 2.0, does something different. You 2.0 relies not on temporary bursts of energy, but on identity-driven habits, small and consistent actions that, over time, create a tidal wave of transformation. Small actions may seem insignificant at first. Writing 1 page a day may feel like nothing. One workout may seem too minimal to matter, and practicing a skill for just a few minutes may feel inconsequential. Yet these actions, repeated day after day, compound into monumental results. 1 page a day becomes a book. 1 workout becomes strength and stamina. 1 small skill learned becomes the foundation of a new career. More than that, each small success reshapes your identity. When you take consistent action, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to identify as someone who creates, someone who does, someone who progresses. The beauty of small, consistent action is that it turns the impossible into the possible. Progress is slow at first, almost invisible, like the early moments of dawn before the sun rises. You may not see the results immediately, and that can be discouraging if you are impatient. But transformation is like a sunrise. It starts as a faint glow, almost unnoticed, and eventually illuminates the entire sky. The key is patience, persistence, and faith in the process. You 2.0 understands this principle deeply. You no longer wait for motivation. You let discipline, habit, and identity drive your daily choices. Each small action becomes a statement. I am the person who moves forward, no matter what. Over time, the momentum becomes unstoppable. Life starts to shift in your favor, and the small victories accumulate into major breakthroughs. This is how ordinary people transform into extraordinary versions of themselves. Not through luck or talent, but through the quiet, consistent practice of doing what others ignore. Chapter 8. The 5 Lies That Keep You Small. Every person's growth is constrained not only by external obstacles, but by the lies they tell themselves. These lies often sound like truths because they have been repeated over and over, shaping beliefs and dictating behavior. Your old self may have carried several of these limiting lies. I'm not ready. A thought that keeps you waiting for perfect circumstances that never come. I'm not talented enough, convincing you that your abilities are inferior to others. I'm too late, making you feel as though opportunities have already passed and it's pointless to try. I don't have what others have. A belief that fuels comparison and discourages effort. And things never work out for me. A lie that plants a seed of inevitable failure before you even start. These lies are powerful because they feel comfortable. Believing them keeps you safe from the risks of failure and disappointment. Yet they are also paralyzing, slowly eroding ambition, confidence, and potential. The moment you start questioning these assumptions, the grip of these lies weakens. You 2.0 understands that readiness is created through action, not waiting. Talent is developed through practice, not pre-existing skill. Opportunities are never too late if you begin now. What others have is irrelevant. Your focus is on building your own path. And success is not about luck. It is about persistence, learning, and resilience. Breaking these lies is not about denying reality. It is about reframing it. You 2.0 challenges assumptions that were accepted passively in the past. Every time you act despite self-doubt, you rewrite the narrative of your life. You prove to yourself that these lies were never truths. They were mental fences constructed to keep you small. As you consistently act against these beliefs, a new internal story emerges. I am capable. I am enough. I am worthy of growth. I am ready to start now. The power of this realization cannot be overstated. It frees you from fear and hesitation, allowing you to step boldly into new opportunities. Lies lose their power the moment action begins because experience replaces assumption. Each decision, each effort, each small step disproves the old self's limitations. The upgraded version of you doesn't wait for permission, reassurance, or ideal conditions. You act, you persist, and with every action, you expand the boundaries of what is possible. Chapter 9. The unseen battle with your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is one of the most deceptive forces in life. On the surface, it feels safe, warm, and predictable. It's familiar. The routines you know, the patterns you've mastered, the people and environments that never challenge you. Comfort is seductive because it minimizes stress and risk. Yet, beneath this illusion of safety lies a quiet prison, one that stifles ambition, erodes potential, and gradually reduces your capacity to grow. Every day spent in this zone is a day of lost opportunity, a day where dreams shrink to fit your routine and possibilities fade into background noise. The battle with your comfort zone is unseen because it occurs internally, in the small, repeated decisions you make about what you will or will not do. You 2.0 is born when you consciously step outside this zone. The process is uncomfortable because growth itself is uncomfortable. Growth requires tension. Progress demands challenge. Every meaningful change begins at the edge of what you consider normal. The first step is always awkward, the first effort always imperfect. But the magic lies in the fact that with each push beyond the boundary, your capacity expands. Tasks that once felt impossible begin to feel manageable. Risks that seemed terrifying become familiar. Your comfort zone shifts outward, gradually encompassing what was previously considered extraordinary. This battle is constant because comfort constantly calls you back. It whispers, "Stay safe, don't risk, don't upset the balance." The upgraded version of yourself responds differently. You understand that discomfort is a signal of growth, not a warning of failure. You 2.0 embraces the tension, recognizing that it is the price of transformation. Every step into discomfort reinforces courage, strengthens resilience, and builds confidence. Stepping beyond comfort does not guarantee immediate success, but it guarantees progress. The journey reprograms your mind, reshapes your habits, and expands your identity. Slowly, the impossible becomes possible, and what was once intimidating becomes ordinary. Growth is rarely linear or easy, but the rewards are profound. Freedom from limitation, clarity of purpose, and the discovery of potential that lies just beyond the edge of familiarity. Ultimately, the battle with your comfort zone is the battle for your future. The day you choose challenge over ease, discomfort over familiarity, you claim the life that your old self only dreamed of. The upgraded version of you thrives outside the zone, learning that risk and struggle are not enemies. They are the pathways to the life you were meant to live. Chapter 10. The moment you claim your future. There comes a moment in everyone's life, a quiet, almost imperceptible moment, when the truth hits like a jolt. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you dream about. No one will provide the opportunity, the mentorship, or the perfect set of circumstances that will catapult you into success. You may have spent years waiting for that chance, hoping someone else would push you forward, or praying for luck to strike at the right moment. But the reality is that waiting changes nothing. The life you desire is not delivered, it is built. And the only person capable of building it is you. This is the moment when responsibility becomes empowerment. You stop blaming luck, circumstances, other people, or the timing of events. You stop giving your power away to external forces. You recognize that every choice, every action, every decision lies squarely in your hands. This is not a burden. It is liberation. When you claim your responsibility, you claim control over your life, and you take ownership of the future you want to create. This shift from passivity to active ownership is the defining moment of you 2.0. It is the birth of the upgraded self, the version of you who refuses to wait for permission, the version of you who refuses to settle for less than you deserve. The moment you make this decision is not dramatic or announced with fanfare. Often it is quiet, almost invisible, marked only by the subtle shift in your mindset. You realize that the path ahead may be uncertain, difficult, and full of challenges. But you also realize that it is your path to shape. Every fear, hesitation, and doubt becomes a tool for growth rather than a reason to stop. Every failure becomes a lesson rather than a defeat. Every obstacle is transformed into an opportunity to build resilience and sharpen your skills. Claiming your future is about deliberate action, not hope. It is about designing your life with intention and refusing to settle for the life you were handed. You 2.0 understands that waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. The only moment that matters is now. And in that realization, you gain freedom. The freedom to act, the freedom to grow, and the freedom to become the person capable of creating the life you've always imagined. The moment you claim your future is the moment your transformation truly begins. Chapter 11. Becoming Unrecognizable. The Final Transformation. Transformation is not a single event. It is a journey, a process, and a series of choices repeated day after day. As weeks turn into months, and months into sustained effort, the changes in you become visible. Not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. People notice your confidence. They sense your energy, your presence, and the way you carry yourself. They see the deliberate choices you make, the courage with which you act, and the calm assurance that you are no longer the person who hesitated at every opportunity. But the most profound change is not external. It is internal. Your self-image, the way you perceive yourself, rewires itself. You no longer see yourself as an underdog. You no longer define yourself by your limitations, failures, or the opinions of others. You see yourself as capable, deserving, disciplined, resilient, and destined for more. You 2.0 is not a fantasy. It is not an unattainable ideal or a distant dream. It is a choice you make every single day. Every time you decide to act instead of waiting, to learn instead of avoiding, to push instead of surrendering, you reinforce the identity of the upgraded self. Every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, these votes accumulate, and suddenly, you notice that your habits, mindset, and responses are no longer those of your old self. You begin to inhabit a version of yourself that once seemed unreachable, a version of yourself that others may admire but can never replicate. You become unrecognizable, not because you changed superficially, but because you evolved fundamentally. At this stage, the question is no longer, why not me? Instead, the challenge becomes, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? The upgraded life is waiting for someone willing to step into it fully, to take full ownership of their decisions, and to refuse to accept anything less than what they are capable of achieving. This is the culmination of the journey, the point at which fear, doubt, and limitation no longer control you. You operate from a new identity, one defined by action, courage, and clarity of purpose. Becoming unrecognizable is not about perfection. It is about authenticity, commitment, and consistent evolution. It is about becoming so fully yourself, so aligned with your purpose, values, and potential, that the world cannot ignore the impact of your presence. Your energy shifts, your decisions become deliberate, and your life transforms into a reflection of your highest aspirations. The final truth is simple. Your upgraded life is waiting. It does not arrive on its own. It does not come to those who wait passively. It belongs to the person who claims it, fights for it, and consistently steps into it with courage. And that person is you. Step forward. Become unrecognizable. Become the architect of your own destiny.